Hi everyone, welcome to today's Icehouse Podcast. I am Bryar, the Community Manager at the Icehouse, and I just love having these conversations with our business owners, our leaders, and those that have been on our program, our alumni community, about how they've built their businesses and just the journey that brings, the highs and the lows. And so today we have Agnes with us. She is the owner and director of a family business called Mena International, and they create beautiful Samoan women's wear and clothing, as you can see behind her now. She has just told me that she likes to focus in on the marketing and the social media of the company, but being a family business, I know that she would have many fingers and lots of different pies and elements of the business. But thanks heaps for joining us, Agnes. Really appreciate your time.
Hi, Bryar. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. Well, we like to start with some quick fire questions, just to sort of get into the groove of podcasting. First question we have for you, Agnes, is book or podcast that you recommend?
Actually, to be fair, I'm not doing a lot of book reading, which is sort of a bit tragic. I am constantly on my phone, so I plug into podcasts every now and then, a long one, but I generally go for the shorter pieces that come through. And I'm actually on TikTok a lot for my business and social media. So there are a couple of people that I follow in podcasts who do short form on those platforms as well, which is quite nice. So a couple of women that I'm really into at the moment is Molly McPherson, who is really in the PR space and communications. She's really, really good. And the other one that I've been following for a while is Steve Bartlett. He does Diary of a CEO, and he's got great mixed content, great interviews on his one as well.
Oh, I love Diary of a CEO, isn't it? Yeah. So good. Yeah, and like you said, really good mix of sort of guests and that sort of thing. So I'm with you. Coffee order?
Generally, it'll be a mocha.
Nice.
Just standard mocha.
Yeah. What does a day in the life of Agnes look like?
It's pretty variable, which is quite good.
Yeah.
I'd say these last couple of years have been quite different. I'm a mum of 5, and so you can imagine the morning schedule has been quite. I guess when they're all at school, and there was a period I was doing the school run. It was sort of a early morning start, getting them all up and ready and on the school run, and before I could even start my day. Most of them are, they can all get themselves to school or university or work now. So it's really freed me up in the mornings, and I actually really relish taking my time in the mornings. I can hear them all up early, getting ready frantically to go to school. And after years and years of doing that school run, I actually relish that morning, just take my time to before I start my day. And then I generally come into our office workroom here in Grey Lynn between sort of 9:30, 10. And then it can be the day can be quite mixed. I could be social media content. I do a lot of our photo shoots and videos, and there's also event organisation. So it's quite mixed, but I love that. And I do a bit of business mentoring online often, or a coffee with some people every now and then. So it's just a mix, which I love.
Yeah, that's so cool. It gives a really great understanding to the passions that you have within this family business and what you like to drive forward, being social media and marketing. I like that. When are you most relaxed?
I try to keep Sunday afternoons relatively work free. That means it could be with family, which could be still busy, but I still find that quite relaxing. So as much as possible, just set aside a time. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and that's fine. But to be truly relaxed, it's sort of a nice little getaway somewhere, a little road trip. We're just totally out of the workspace, the home space as well. So that might happen, I don't know, 3-4 times a year at most.
Yeah. Good on you, though. That's great. On similar sort of thing, where is your favourite place in the world?
Oh gosh, it's I've actually, been very lucky. I've travelled quite a lot. I lived, I did Noe years ago before children, and I travelled and just went to some amazing, beautiful
Cool.
places like Mykonos. Beautiful.
Wow.
It really is like a postcard island. That's just stunning. But near home, it's pretty lovely just to head out. I'm out west. I live out West Auckland, so it's always just stunning just to head out to one of the West Auckland beaches, Piha or Karikari. It's just, yeah.
For sure, that's so cool. Love that. Nice. It's a really nice rounded sort of understanding of you a little bit more. But to go that little bit deeper, I would love to ask this sort of open question. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Agnes, and what are your passions, and what does life look like now?
Life is really good. There's challenges. We've all faced a very challenging period in this last couple of years, particularly. And I think that also though highlights, I guess, for me anyway, what's really important. And it's just cemented that it's still about family. That's the reason why I get up every morning. To be a mum and a provider to my 5 children.
Wow.
At the same time, this family business, we've just celebrated our 20th year. So this is our 20th year as a business, which is quite remarkable in the, I guess, the fashion retail business. It's it's not an easy space to be in. So that was neat to really recognise that 20 years for us, because it's been a tough road. So that's been a big part of my life, is that whole, I'm just passionate about enterprise and passionate about the ability to create something with your hands, which we physically do. And the whole process of getting it to market, and that people actually really want to buy it. And that's just it's just amazing for us that we've been able to do this for 20 years. So my family, my work has been amazing. I've also, in the last term, I was a member of Parliament for a little bit. So I'm just, politics and business and family all intertwined.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible and very inspiring. And congratulations on 20 years. 20
Thank
years
you.
is a massive, massive feat. So yeah, very, very cool. I would love if you could tell us a bit more of a story of Mena and how that maybe aha moment happened, and then what you guys produce and create. Would love to hear that a bit about it.
Well, there was actually an aha moment. So I'm the eldest of 4 girls, and we grew up with a mum who could sew, and she was a wonderful dressmaker and seamstress, and it allowed her to work from home. So she had her machines, and she was able to do some outwork and sew for other people while she was, being a mum to us. And so many years later, I went overseas and did some things, and my sisters went off and did, various things. I actually studied engineering at university, so my background is chemical engineering. And I was coming back from my OE, and my mother and my sister had been doing were doing some sewing they'd actually moved to Samoa for a little bit. And they were just, making clothes to sell, just to basically pay the bills. And my sister had started printing fabric, because that's quite common over Samoa, that you do a lot of board printing and hand printing of fabric, and then just, beautiful prints that just get made up into whatever you want, dresses, shirts. And she was doing this, and I saw some of the stuff that she was making, and I just thought, wow, that's just so different. There's traditional Samoan wear, and then there's, I guess for us, we were raised in New Zealand, so we wanted to have that sort of mix of the tradition, but sort of still contemporary. And so we sort of put our own little touches on it. So I thought I'd just stay and help her and mum out a little bit. And actually just ended up not really leaving. It just became one of those really home-based businesses that just grew very, very organically. And then before long, my younger sister was part of the business, and then my other sister, who was just come back from her OE, came and joined in. So it's quite interesting that we came together around this, and our mother's a big part of it. She's such an inspiration to us. And so the name Mena is actually her name. Her name is Mena, short for Philomena. So we just decided that was going to be it. And so it's just been a journey of very much a family business, just trying to pull together, and then just organically growing, moving out of the home into our first retail store, coming back to New Zealand, then discovering that we can reach more people through online platform.
Great, yeah.
And then just growing it from there.
That's very, very cool. So talk through, how many years were you in Samoa, and then, when you got back to New Zealand and you continued the business on, tell us about the importance of that rich Samoan heritage and pride in the Pacific Island communities, and how you keep that strong now being back in New Zealand.
It's gone through our business has gone through a few different transitions around, and in Samoa, everyone around you is Samoan, so they understand what we're trying to create. At the same time, culturally, there was a sentiment that we weren't traditional, to part of that older community who's used to a particular look and design. And yet the younger women were loving the fact that there was something a little bit different about the look, something a bit more modern, but still reflected, the heritage side of it. So we were sort of in that space. And so I think we were quite innovative in that space, trying to sort of push the boundary along what is seen as traditional into a bit more mainstream, because we wanted it to be pieces that you didn't just have to wear at your specific church or family event, that you could wear it to work in your office setting or events. And then we sort of moved into dresses which were specifically for, cocktail events, or you wear it to a wedding or something like that. I moved back to New Zealand first, and about 12 years ago. So we started in Samoa, and it was actually quite tough to come back here, and we tried to sort of operate another little, I guess, workroom and retail arm. But when we started that back here, we sort of came in the middle of the GFC in that period. So it was really tough, and we were sort of having to do more made to order rather than off the rack, just to sort of get us through that period. We did open a store, but it was really, really slow in the first 2 years here. And actually we contemplated, after the second year, we contemplated that we might, if the next year didn't sort of turn around, we would close it. So we thought we'd give it another 12 months. And fortunately that year did start to pick up. So we sort of, persisted. At the same time, the Samoa store was doing quite well. And we were getting lots of requests through email, and, people that were living in other Pacific Islands. So we did a couple of trunk shows into some of the very Pacific Islands, and they're good, but they're quite tough. They're quite tough to do, to sustain those sort of events where you throw clothes into a suitcase and set yourself up somewhere. And
totally.
but we did it, and we did shows, and then we decided we might do New Zealand Fashion Week here, and we got a scholarship through. You might recall there was a show called Pacifica, Westfield Style Pacifica, which was, long show, and we'd sort of done that for a few years, and we sort of got a scholarship to do New Zealand Fashion Week, which was challenging for us because we weren't seen in the mainstream. And so it was just, but we thought we'd just see how it would go in terms of any profile we could get out of it. So we actually ended up doing New Zealand Fashion Week twice. We did couple of trade shows in Australia. We've done Fiji Fashion Week for about 6 or 7 years. We showed in Hawaii. So we did a lot of work on the ground, just really getting out, trying to really find our market and just get the name known. And so it's just sort of really grown so organically. It's word of mouth. And then our location, we've been in Auckland here for 10 years. Our current location here in Greyland 10. And once we were able to get that e-commerce platform open, sort of be able to sell online, that really was the game changer for us, because we have a market that lives quite far afield. Australia is our fastest growing online market, because there's a huge Pacific community there, and then the United States as well is picking up. So it's just really opened up for us, and it's really leveled the playing field, I think, just having that opportunity to sell online.
Yeah, that's such a great point. So who would you say your market is now, your target market?
Our target market is, and this is a really good question, because I think and what I do with business mentoring, it's trying to get new creators or businesses focused on, it's because you make dresses, every woman's our market. You can't be all things to all people. Our target market is Pacifica women. But look, there are people that sit outside there, but generally they're Pacifica or have some Pacific heritage. They generally sit 25 to 45. I'd say 25 to 50. They are sort of mid-level professionals, working women, or senior managers. They are, their life revolves around, family, their community, very, very active women, high profile in their communities, leaders in their communities. And so and the reason is because we've worked in our stores, we've met them. So over the years, we know who they are, we know their stories, we know what their lives are like, because they're coming in to tell us what they're looking for. It's something coming up this week. So they're very engaged in their community and in their area. So it's great that we still have the physical store. It's really, really helped to really hone on who they are, so that we can make sure that we're constantly offering them something that will, that they will like.
That's such a great answer. Thanks for that. And it's not that thought of these women being such key parts of their community and just being really valuable people in that space, and the influence that I guess that has. So I'd love to hear that. Would love to hear what's been a real highlight moment of the journey so far, and how do you guys celebrate success when those things happen?
In 20 years, look, there's been lots of highlights, and of course behind that there's been also lots of failures. And I think I'm really really clear to say that success and failure go hand in hand. It's that it's the fear of failure that stops you wanting to try some things. I mean, obviously you try and mitigate it as much as possible, but we've really tried to push the boundary and offer something different. And so there is risk take, and not all of them work out. So when we've highlights have been being able to travel together to China, as sisters, and do fashion events in Hawaii or in Rarotonga that we've done. It's just that whole. It's quite scary, because there's, as you know, in business, there's no safety net. Very early on, if we didn't make the sales, we couldn't really pay ourselves, and that happened a lot. So to get to a point where, you know, we're good financially, we've been able to get good profile and have done some amazing things together. And look, I got to meet The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Oh, that's got to be a
photo
highlight.
with him, and he wore our shirts when he came to Samoa. So that's a pretty good highlight, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's got to be in there somewhere. That's great. Yeah, I love hearing that. And, you know, no doubt a lot of travel and a lot of memories made as a family is, you know, a big part of celebrating the success and the highlight and memorable moments along the way. Is there a challenge that sort of sticks out to you? I know there would be many, like you said, over the 20 years, but is there a couple or one thing that has stuck out to you in the journey?
Yeah, I've so many. There was a period we were still in Samoa, and we were wanting to get more sort of stockists, which was there were some logistical challenges in Samoa around just trying to get goods in and out. Can be quite challenging. But we'd made a connection. We did have a couple of stockists in Hawaii very early on, and through Hawaii we got a retail business from Japan that was quite interested in putting our clothes into his stores, and he had a chain of stores, and that was really, really exciting because, you know, Japanese market is incredibly tough, and people know it's a very, very tough market to break into. And so, you know, this opportunity came up, and there was a bit of deliberation there, and we had to sort of retool a little bit because the sizing is quite different. So there was a little bit of work that had to be done on our part to sort of resize the styles. And it was sort of just about to kick off, and then it was that awful period where they had that tsunami that came through, and so immediately his two main stores just got totally you know, demolished, and it was an awful thing that happened over there. And that's just you know, obviously the deal didn't go through, and that's just the way it is. And living in Samoa, we also went through, I don't know, 2 or 3 cyclones where everything just gets flattened. You have to close your business because everyone's in cleanup mode. Everybody just has to close. Nothing happens at all for at least a couple of months. Your business stops, and you have to care for your staff. So, you know, we've had those environmental challenges as well as economic ones.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, thanks for sharing those. And like you said, all part of business, all part of that 20-year journey for sure. A bit off the script, but wondering, like, do you have any advice for those that maybe are in a family business situation and wondering, you know, what are some good either boundaries or tips for working with your siblings?
I get asked this a lot.
Good.
And because when people find out that I work with my 3 sisters and my mother, you know, the common response I get from them is, oh, I could never work with my, you know, brother, or I could never work with my sister. And I get that. I think we are a very strong, tight family anyway. And look, very early on, there were, you know, we faced the challenge of how to separate the family relationship with the professional one. And so sometimes that blurred a little bit, and so there were some tensions early on as we had to try and figure out how we did that. And so it's actually just been time and understanding that we all brought our different strengths to the business, and they're complementary. And the other key thing about it is that our mum worked with us. You know, she was very much in the business day to day, sewing, someone's cutting, you know, I could be doing orders, one's working in the shop. And when those situations arose, and she didn't really interfere much in what we were doing, she pretty much left it to us. But the only time she did step in is if we were, one of us or two of us were in that situation where we're sort of like, not agreeing, and it was affecting the relationship, and she would step in and she would always say, the family comes first before the business.
Awesome.
Should say it in far sterner words, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And she would just remind us.
Yeah.
And we had to work through it. We had to find a way through it.
Great
and so it's just been time to work out what is best, when it's best to leave things, to talk later about it. And so now 20 years on, it's that sort of stuff very, very rarely comes up. We just get on really, really well. I think it's the strength. It's actually our strength is the implicit trust we have in each other, in the business.
Yeah.
That we are there for the business. It's actually a family business. It actually works for all of us.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love that idea of even bringing their own skill set, their own strength, being complementary, but putting family first at the end of the day, and knowing that that's always the most important thing. Gold. Yeah, awesome. Wanting to sort of turn a little bit to your experience at the Icehouse, and quite a cool story, because all four of the directors of the business, your sisters, came on our Taking Your Business Forward program at the same time, to really, move things forward. But I just wanted to hear from you first. How did you hear of the Icehouse and Taking Your Business Forward program?
Actually, it was my sister Charlene who heard about it, and I'm not sure, she may have seen it come through in an email or something. And so she was the one. We have weekly meetings, and so she just brought it up and just said, look, here's something that I think we should look at, and she provided information, and I think we talked about it for a few weeks. The reason she would have brought it up is that we were sort of going through a period of a bit of change in our business anyway. We'd noticed quite some significant growth in some areas, and we knew that we needed to do some change if we wanted to really scale up. And so it was, we were in that sort of space anyway, and thinking about, and we were initially just going to bring in we've had mentors over the last few years, different mentors for different parts of the business, and so we were looking at possibly bring in someone just to help, facilitate that for us, and maybe have someone from the outside give some insight, as well from their perspective. It's always good to have an outsider come in, fresh eyes. So it was pretty much that, and so we just thought this looks good, and pretty much the reason why we did it together is if we'd had a mentor, we would have all sat in those sessions together. I think it's really important that you all hear the same thing. And because if there is going to be any sort of transformational change in the business, it's better that you're all hearing it together and discussing it together, rather than someone sitting in on it and then having to then relay it, their interpretation of it back to the other three. And so we found it really, really good that even in the group's session that some of us will be together, it was actually nice to hear, one of my sisters, talking about a particular topic, because I sort of thought, I didn't even know that. So it's just sometimes you can actually allow that space to actually hear each other, because normally day to day we're doing the operational stuff that happens very quickly. We often don't take the time to sit out and then work on the business. And so because we'd paid into this course, we forced us to have to do it, to sit in. And so that was really, really good. Yeah,
that's great insight. I love that. What were so the benefits of doing it together? I love that, because that's definitely a key thing is, someone goes on a program like Taking Your Business Forward, and they're trying to, like you said, relay it back to the other directors, and they're just not speaking the same language, and it's hard to sort of make that connection or that aha moment. When you're in it together, you can go away and have chats and say, how's this going to work for us? Lots of benefits of doing it that way. So awesome. Did anything hold you back from signing up to the program, or did you guys sort of go, cool, yeah, this is us, and get straight into it? Were there any hesitations?
Yeah, there's always a hesitation when you're paying for something.
Of course, yeah.
Think, because we could find a whole list of other things that we could put that money towards, particularly in our space that could buy this much fabric. We could put another so many quantity of dresses in there, things like that. But I don't think ultimately it was, we knew that we had to really take this time out to work on the business, and because things were moving very fast, and it's good to be busy, but it's also the time where you do have to step out to look more strategically at your business.
Yeah, for sure. And since doing the program, have you guys implemented anything into the business, or even maybe your lifestyle, since coming off taking your business board?
Actually, so much. It was really, really, really good. It was really good to go back over just even the SWOT analysis and the why.
Yes.
We really enjoyed those discussions because we have so much data in our business. And so it's just taking the time to really drill into it, what is our secret sauce? What is it that it differentiates us from our competitors? And we hadn't done that exercise for a period of time. So it was good to, do it again, in light of the new information that we've had, since, with our customers, with the new growth online. With the growth online, how can we make that customer experience even better for them? So that whole series of sessions was really, really good, and it really helped us to really sort of nut it all out, and make a plan about what some things that we needed to look at. The sessions on the whole work-life balance were really, really good, because we're all my sisters, we're all busy mums, and we multitask, and we do all sorts of things, and so that was really good to actually, we knew it, we have to have better work-life balance. We don't. But how it really affects your business, your relationship with each other, your relationship with your staff. So those sessions were also really good. And the other part were actually in terms of the operational side, looking at some tools that we could implement or use around streamlining some of our processes, especially in the digital space. What can we get automated? What needs to be done by us, to give that personal touch? So it's just trying to find those things. And like with anything, there's a big list of to-dos that we'd like to do. But then we have to, what's the priority of those? What can we do this year? What can we put off till next year? So all in all, it was a wonderful exercise, and we actually took a weekend away. After we finished the course, we planned a weekend away, and we actually did a whole session on, we brought the material with us so that we could work it through, and then make a plan of what we were going to do for the next sort of 6 to 12 months. And so that was really, really valuable to us.
That's such a cool idea of doing a little weekend afterwards to sort of collate everything that you've learned over this, program's journey, and go, cool, what are the priorities from now? I like that a lot. Yeah, that's great. And great to hear as well, of course, what you guys have got from the program and how it's impacted your guys' business. Would you kind of want to ask a couple of specific questions to your business? What are the differences between doing business in Samoa versus New Zealand, and what's something New Zealanders could learn from the Pacific Island business community?
Well, the first thing I'd say is I probably wouldn't have even considered business if I wasn't living in Samoa, mainly because their work opportunities are quite limited, and there's not much support if you're not in work, if you know what I mean. So entrepreneurial spirit is very alive in Samoa because you have to feed your family. So people will fish and sell it on the side of the road. They'll grow vegetables. They'll sell it at the market. It's very much, unless you've got one of the very few well-paid jobs there, you have to find a way. And so that entrepreneurial thing is just not quite normal. And so that's the situation that we were in. We sort of thought, well, we'll do better selling, creating. Mum's got this talent. We're sort of artistic creative with fabric and print. Let's put together something. And then voila, there was a market for it. So that, I think that in terms of where we started is important. Then in terms of the business side, there was pros and cons. It was wonderful to be there at that time to really understand what that Pacific flavor is that we wanted to put into our clothes. Why, it's that sort of, that real pride in our heritage and the stories that come through it. And so when we decided to come back to New Zealand, we sort of came over in different phases when we came back to New Zealand. I mean, New Zealand's our home, and there is a huge Pacific community here as well.
Yes, yeah.
And then we noticed that, the Pacific community here because they don't live in the Pacific, in the Pacific Islands anymore, many of them haven't been there. There is sort of that sort of longing to have that connection. And so it's wonderful we get many, girls who come to us for their ball gown or their graduation outfit, their dress that they're going to wear for graduation. And they haven't grown up in the Pacific Islands, but it's something that's really become really, really important to them to have that connection. And so that's sort of what we've really tried to touch on, is that you can be Pacific. You don't have to be Pacific just, in the Pacific Islands, wherever you live in Australia or America or New Zealand, you can still have that connection through fashion, through music, through your stories. And so that's, it was really, I guess I don't think we would have been as successful if we hadn't had those years there really building our business. And that's really what our brand is about. Our brand sort of started there, and we've just sort of drilled down on it more over here. Logistically, there are some challenges in a Pacific island. So, shipping delays. I mean, you get shipping delays here, but, shipping delays, tariffs. And so and also I think now that we didn't have online options in Samoa at the time. There was nobody was doing online selling back then. So now that we've set up here, I think the other one we wouldn't have been able to do more is the getting our goods out to customer in a quickly, timely manner. So some of our Australian customers, they buy a dress online. Some of them message us the next day and say they've got it, which is amazing, because sometimes it's slow just to get to a dress to customer in Wellington.
Exactly.
So, we've got that ability to get something out to you fairly quickly, whether you're in Australia or America or the Pacific. So I think that would have been a challenge in that space. And just your supply chain is probably not going to be as streamlined in some of the Pacific Islands, depending on what it is. So
no, that's really practical and good. But I also love your thought around, the Samoan culture having so much entrepreneurial spirit about them. Whether that is, selling fish at a market or on the side of the road or to family and friends, and whatever it looks like, that spirit really runs through the culture, which is really awesome and makes a whole lot of sense to me, actually. I really like that. For sure. I kind of want to unpack for you, coming from such a strong sense of community I feel the Pacific Islands have about them. how is community important to you as a business owner? Do you have people that you lean on for advice or support, or what does community sort of look like to you?
Well, the first one is our family. So outside our immediate family, we have a very large extended family.
Great.
My mother has, had lots of siblings, so did my father. So we've got that extended family. And the network in Samoa, the network is also very tight because of the size of the area they're living in. You tend to know a lot of people, just because you run in very similar circles. And I mean, in New Zealand, in Auckland, where we've grown up, there is a big Pacific community, but you tend to meet people all the time through the various events that you attend. There is that sense of, you'll go to a wedding and you'll meet a whole lot of people that you know, and then you'll go to another event, and it's we tend to gravitate together a lot for certain events and things like that. So we've built a community around our business. Yes, we have customers come in, but we often get asked a lot, and all businesses do, they'll be approached by various groups asking you to sponsor something for their school event or their church event. Can you provide something for their raffle, for their auction? That happens all the time. And so you become part of that community. Every time we have a fashion event, there's always a charity that we donate to. We did a fashion event where we donated $9,000 to Habitat for Humanity.
Wow.
The last one we did was for a Pacific Women's Refuge. So this is part of the whole, and lots of businesses do this. They will sponsor, it's part of being in the community that you serve.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I'm always so inspired by what our small, medium-sized businesses do for the community around them, in terms of sponsorship and donations and supporting charities and community events. The list goes on. It's very, very cool to see, and nice to hear it's something part of the fabric for you guys too, which is cool. I love that. I'd love to sort of end. I've got two more questions I want to ask, if that's okay.
Sure.
I'm getting a lot out of this, so here we go. I would love to ask, what advice do you have for your younger self, or maybe a younger budding business owner wanting to start something?
Oh gosh, lots of advice. The first thing, and this was something that early on, we didn't ask for help as much as we should have. When you start a business, you will have your strengths, but there'll be areas that you won't know about so well. And so we could have asked somebody, can you help us with this particular thing? It could be, even with the whole bookkeeping or setting up something for us. And so I think that would have helped a lot knock out some of the things early on. I think there was just such a fear of like, we don't want to sort of ask any, I'm quite a shy person, and I know it's unusual, but actually my three sisters are shy too. Normally you get, but we're quite shy. And so we often didn't ask enough early on. And so it was years later where we decided to actually get some mentoring on some areas, and would have mentors for a few months or a bit longer, and they'll be for different things. And then you get to a point where you didn't need them anymore, and then you'd move on. And so I'd wish we'd done that earlier. And sort of in the same vein, like I mentioned before, it's that that fear of trying something because of the fear of failure, and having to get over that. Because as I said, our success has also been built on our failure, because you learn something from each of those events, and you think, right, how could I have done that better? And so, but then the other things we've tried that worked. So it's just time on the ground, that experience that helps you. And we're in the small businesses, we're making, hundreds of decisions every single week. Every day there's decisions that and over time you get better at it, and you sort of mitigate some things, and so your confidence does grow there.
Great advice.
Have good people around you as a sounding board. Have different people around you as a sounding board to pitch your idea. It's ask them what they think the pitfalls are. Doesn't mean that you have to just decide that that's what you're going to do, but I think it's just good to have some other eyes on your business, and just take that on, and be open to criticism without taking it personally. So but at the end of the day, if you think you've got something that's going to work, you've looked into it, you've done your research, then go for it. Yeah.
Wow, so much great advice packed in there. But I think what you've said is business owners like to keep it to their chest, because they don't want to be vulnerable and talk about it just in case someone does sort of hit them with some negativity or some feedback or whatever. But it's so right. Just chat to people about it. Find sort of safe people to talk to, different people to talk to about your idea. Research it, and if you're passionate, go for it. What is there to lose? So incredible advice. Thank you for that. I thought I'd finish on this question because I'd love to know, what does the future look like for Mena?
Oh, good question, because we've actually been contemplating that. Part of it also because it's our 20th year, and we wanted to sort of think, what does the next 20 years look like? And it was also part of why we wanted to take Your Business Forward course, is to think strategically about that. We've looked at our customers, we've looked at our market, and really tried to drill down into who they were, and in understanding who they were, they are buying a certain offering from us. So with the same market, what else could we create that would also appeal to this market? And so we're sort of looking at other product lines outside of clothing, but still sit in that space of Pacific heritage, aspirational, designed products. So sort of, home furnishings, accessories, things like that. So that's sort of what we're looking at. So expanding that. So expanding our brand into lifestyle. We've talked a lot about, over the years, and we have done children's clothing. So we do women's, we do men's shirts, that match the woman, and that's become a real big hit in the last year, bigger than we had anticipated, because we in our minds had seen the matching men's shirt with the matching woman's dress as something that was sort of more nostalgic to what our parents did back in the day. But what we're seeing is actually our younger customers are finding it really, really cool. Our younger woman wants her partner to have the matching shirt to her dress. So there's sort of been a little bit of resurgence of that, and then they want their little kids to have the same print, so it's the whole family for the family photo and the family gathering. So we're looking to revisit kids clothing. Kids clothing is quite a tough space to do, but we're looking at how we can do that, so we can provide Mena for the whole family. So it's the whole family package. So that's sort of where we're looking at the moment. And we've also been talking about another location, and that would be Australia, mainly because it's been such a growing market for us online. and it would be good to have a physical presence there, but
Mm-hmm.
that will take a lot more planning. So we'll see. So that's where we're at the moment.
Exciting days ahead, that's for sure. And been really cool, a little bit of a theme throughout the podcast on just how powerful e-commerce has been for you, and
Yes.
you know, so social media and marketing, and how that's really boomed things, right? Am I right in thinking that?
Oh, absolutely. I really don't think that we would be around today if we didn't have that e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
And the social media side of it has just blown up. Like I said earlier, I spend too much time on TikTok and Insta Reels than I would like.
Yeah.
But it's actually really translated to sales for us. And you know, without a doubt, we've got the data, we've got the metrics. People are on those platforms, and if you can really engage your story on those platforms, if you can really be authentic on those platforms,
Absolutely.
be fresh, don't take yourselves too seriously, you know, people, you know, that you can, it's a really, really good way to reach your customers, because, you know, back in the day, I think the only way you could advertise was, you know, $2,000 for a little bit of print in a magazine, and you didn't know who was watching. You know, you had no metrics on that.
Yeah.
And so today it's just so transformed. That's why it's really leveled the playing field in terms of a brand getting, you know, really good reach out there. So it's been amazing for us, and we've had to come out from behind to actually step in front, because as much as people love to see a wonderful photo of a model, a beautiful model in a dress, they really enjoy seeing the behind the scenes. They enjoy the process.
I do. Yeah.
People love the behind the scenes. They love the process. They love the stories. They love the funny bits. As much as the perfect photo. So we've really had to sort of get up to speed with that and sort of come out from behind to show who you are, because then they see that it's real. They see that your business is real, that you are real people, that it's not from some anonymous factory in China or anything. They're actually, these are the creators, they design it, they're making it, and that's the connection that people want with the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so cool to hear, you know, your natural passion for social media and the power it has. So thanks for sharing that too, Agnes. Appreciate it. And thanks for sharing the whole story, the story of Mena and Mena International, what you guys are doing, what the future looks like. It's been so cool to hear and spend some time chatting with you, and also just hearing the impact that the Taking Your Business Forward program had on, you know, with you guys, and cool to just be a little tiny part of the 20-year puzzle and piece. So congrats and thanks again for your time.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.